Hey everyone, I'm Bueller from Comics with Bueller, and you're watching Comic Book Addicts, and that's Larry Hama right behind me. Very cool. Later.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to a very special edition of Comic Book Addicts. This is episode 70. Hope everybody's having a great evening. I know I'm really excited. We don't normally do this on a Tuesday evening, but I had the opportunity to talk to one of the writers from one of my very favorite currently running horror series that is currently out right now. And issue 4 just hit shelves this past week, by the way. But what I'm talking about is The Fog. And if you haven't checked it out, you got to check it out, guys. It is a really good book. It's on the Sumerian Comics imprint, but I put up on the screen a couple of the issues that I picked up. Here's some of the interior artwork. If you've never checked it out before, guys, you really got to. Issue 3, I know it was really starting to heat up. So I haven't read issue 4 yet, so I can't wait to pick up my copy tomorrow at the comic shop. But anyways, how is everybody doing? Hope you're doing well. We had a great evening yesterday with Brian LCS. Speaking of Brian, what's up, Brian? Hope you're doing well this evening. Talking to him about his title, The Doctor, and we had a lot of fun. Really good title as well, and can't wait for physical copies of that to come out. But yeah, that was a lot of fun, and I can't wait to bring this writer out that we have tonight. See who else we have in the chat. We got Las Cruces. He says hooray, woohoo, and hello from New Mexico. Thanks for stopping by, Las Cruces. Like I was saying, we got the writer from The Fog, Steve Ekstrom, and I'm just going to go ahead and bring him out here because I can't wait to talk to him. This was a great opportunity, and crap, I lost my sheet of paper here. Sorry, guys. He is currently writing the newest expansion to the classic 80s horror movie, The Fog, by John Carpenter. Really cool stuff. Issue 4 just hit shelves, like I was just saying, this past week. We thought it was going to be this week, but I think it's on shelves right now. I don't know. We'll talk to him here in just a second about it, but I can't wait to talk to him. So let's go ahead and bring him out here. Y'all help me welcome Steve Ekstrom to the live stream. What's up,
Hi.
Steve? What's up, man?
Nice to meet you, man. Thanks for having me. I'm always grateful to get to talk to people about comics and to just get to, bask in the love of this awesome hobby and great medium.
Well, I was so thankful for the opportunity, man. Like I was saying, we normally do this on Monday night, but you gave me the opportunity to talk to you tonight, so I'm so grateful for that. I was telling the guys that The Fog, I've spoken very highly of this series to all my buddies. And speaking of buddies, we got my buddy from work here, Daryl Moore. He's picking up the title as well. And it's a normal topic of conversation between me and Daryl at work. But it's been a great title so far. And when you said you'd come on and hang out with me, I could not wait, man. I had to do a special show just for you this week, man. So thank you so much for coming on. But where are you from?
I'm actually from Valdosta, Georgia. I'm from South Georgia.
Nice.
Currently, I live in South Florida, and we're actually moving. My girlfriend and I are moving back to South Georgia in about 2 months because it's just the cost of living is staggering where we live right now, and it's like the 1-bedroom apartment we have here, we can move into like a 3-bedroom condo, like luxury apartment in my hometown. So it's like we're gonna go spend some time in my hometown. We both work from home. This way we both get home offices, and she works she's a professor and she's an activist, kind of globally recognized figure in the LGBTQ sphere. And
Wow.
she's on a television show. And so it's kind of cool. So, and for me, I kind of need, kind of structure and small, and it's just easier. And I can kind of do what I can do, from anywhere. And that's kind of the benefit and the luxury of making comics.
So how did you get the opportunity? I'm sure everybody watching knows The Fog, the classic horror series from the 80s. How did you get the opportunity to do this series, man? That's pretty cool.
We were working on Sumerian Behemoth. when I met Nathan Yoakum, who is one of the co-publishers, we wanted to work on horror books. We talked about horror movies we love. And when during COVID, we tried our best to get several different licenses going.
Yeah.
And he kind of contacted me. It was about 18 months ago, and he just said, what do you know about The Fog?" And I was like, "The John Carpenter movie? I literally just watched it 3 days ago." And he was like, "Are you serious?" I was like, "Yeah, I watch like John Carpenter movies like nonstop. He's one of my heroes creatively." Halloween being my favorite. We were talking about this before the show. Halloween's
Yeah.
like my all-time favorite movie. I watch it 3 or 4 times a year, if not more. Um, and it's just I have all kinds of memorabilia and stuff too.
Sure.
And I just to jump onto a licensed book where I could tell a horror story in the in the same realm as somebody who I absolutely admire. And I've always had kind of a fondness for the movie. I'm not a fan of the remake. You've got the remake comic book in that
Yeah.
pile of stuff. We weren't allowed to touch that. We weren't allowed to talk about it. It was very funny because they're like, "You can't mention anything from the Fog remake," and I was like, "Totally okay. Not a fan. I was never." And but like it's just I grew up in a time where, I was born in 76. So I was one of the kids that saw the made for TV special version of Halloween in the Fog. Like they made a kind of a TV version of Halloween in 1981 to
Uh-huh.
coincide with Halloween 2. They did that a couple years later with the Fog. They made a TV version of it and aired it on NBC on like in like October kind of thing.
Wow. Okay.
And it was one of those things that like scared the shit out of me, you know
Yeah.
leper ghost pirates, like what, that's just insane. And it's very much you look at a lot of Carpenter's storytelling, like Halloween, like The Fog. It's very traditional horror storytelling tropes, and lots of references to things that he liked as a
Mm.
kid. And I think that that's so important that you pay attention to stuff like that. Like the whole thing with, like the Sam Loomis thing in Halloween. That's actually the protagonist, good guy of Psycho.
Yeah.
And that, like nobody really recognizes that he was the one decent man in Psycho. And so it's like, and then that's your hero, your this odd protagonist in Halloween.
Mhm.
And so it's like I tried to take those same qualities that Carpenter likes to put into his films, like
Mhm.
naming people after friends of his, Nick Castle, people like that, or those names are all throughout his movies. So I sprinkled that into my comic book
Oh, cool.
for the
I love
Fog
little
because
Easter
I
eggs.
wanted to pay homage to all of that, just to out of respect for John Carpenter.
Now, how would you explain? Because I've read different variations. I actually read a Dark Horse. It's kind of a prequel.
Yeah, that's
Actually,
from the prequel movie. That has nothing to do with our
yeah,
stuff.
yeah. It's very different. But what you
Yeah.
did with the story, it's somewhat of a continuation. Would you say?
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's silly that they're like ghosts have calendars and they can come back at precise moments. So I
Yeah.
kind of wanted to create this against the grain kind of moment where it's 42 years later since the event of the Fog, which was a centennial event, like a curse. And I was like, the thing I asked myself when I sat down to write this was, what happens to ghosts after or poltergeists or supernatural entities when they've been sated, when the thing that they needed revenge for or justice for is met? Because at the end of the Fog, they get the cross back, they get the gold, they get the
Mhm.
diary, and then they disappear. But then that right before the movie ends, Captain Blake shows up and chops Father Malone's head off, and then the movie ends.
Yeah.
So are they still around? Why are they still around? Where do they go? Did they ever leave? And I kind of wanted to explore that. Do they lose their potency? Are they as powerful?
Mhm.
Are they controllable? And I was at the time I my mom's friends from high school was a history professor of mine in college, and he's somebody that I occasionally have lunch with. I'll take him to doctor's appointments because he's almost 70.
Yeah.
And we're driving around in the countryside, and he started talking to me about local lore and about like
Okay.
local ghost stories and creepy things that have happened.
Hey,
And
Martin.
I
Welcome.
pulled some of the stuff he was telling me about, like a child found in the woods in the 1880s around my hometown that had no name. They found him, no clothes, nothing, just wandering in the woods, and a
Mm.
family adopted him. And they don't have he has no connections to anybody. So where did he come from? So that's
Yeah.
kind of like I
Wow.
kind of drew some of that element into my new villain character, who is another character from the original movie. If you pay attention,
Awesome.
he's the first person you see in the original movie is
Man,
the
that's
old
so
man
cool.
telling the ghost stories.
Well, that's really cool that you incorporated little Easter eggs like that. I know
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you were saying that you tried your best to sprinkle them throughout. How did the opportunity come about in the first place? Like, how do you get this the opportunity to write this awesome series?
It was there when you're looking for projects, you can find licensors, go to like licensing conventions and things like that, and they
Uh-huh.
have whole portfolios of projects that are controlled by a licensor for a studio or for an entity that owns it, and you
Okay.
basically pay a licensing fee, but they have like so much say. So you're not making tacos at their hamburger stand kind of thing. Like
Yeah.
if you bought a franchise McDonald's and then you started selling Arby's in it, they
Yeah,
would be
that
a
would,
little pissed off. So
of
it's
course.
kind of that, like there was a pitching. I had to pitch. It had to go through a process where the licensor okayed it.
Okay.
And there was a selection to it. And yeah, it just kind of goes from there. And you pay to have the right to make the book, and then you can kind of make your own material.
Nice. So you were able to do it. Um, how did Sumerian come into play?
Well, Sumerians, the people who, I was kind of working for them at that point, and they had acquired American Psycho, Basic Instinct, and The
Mm.
Fog, and they were like,
Oh,
"What do you think about this?
okay.
Working on this book." I know that they're also working to produce an Escape from New York comic, as
Okay.
well as a Total Recall comic. So there's things on the horizon, but like they basically acquired a bunch of licenses and kind of hired teams. And because I was such a fan of the movie, it was like a no-brainer. Like they were like, "Do you want to do this?" And I was like, "Of course I do." So like it was nice. I kind of we looked at a couple artists. I had found Marco Federa, who I think I'm I'm stunned that he's not working at the Big Two already, because he
Yeah,
should
the
be.
interior art's great. I was
And
showing
and
that before I brought you out. It's great. And actually I can throw it up on the screen. Here's an example of some of the interior art right here. And
yeah,
it's great.
yeah,
It's great. It's
yeah,
fantastic.
yeah. Spoiler alert: people die in this book.
People do die.
But yeah, no, it's funny because like he's a huge Carpenter fan too, and so it was kind of nice to meet somebody who cared as much as I did, and he liked The Fog as well. So it was cool. We kind of got to develop it. Again, like the protagonist is Andy from the first movie, grown up. So
Okay.
he's now a fisherman. He's like a commercial fisherman, and it's like Antonio Bay has kind of like slowly come back to life, and it's still a sleepy fishing village, but it also has like a paranormal bed and breakfast kind of feel to it, where people know something happened there, but do they know what happened? Not really, because that was before the advent of the internet, so it's like it's still like urban legend level
Yeah.
stuff. And so you have kind of this layer of characters that are from the area, and then you have this character that's returning to the area for the first time, and her parents were characters from the movie. um and so she basically, her life's work has become this paranormal podcast that
Mhm.
she has put together with a couple of her friends from college, who are based on two of my friends from college,
Oh, cool.
Travis and Kirk. Yeah. um and so Annie Annie, Travis, and Kirk have, they've come to town kind of at an inopportune time, right when this big storm is kind of coming in,
Yep.
and somebody else is rolling into town too. And I don't want to get too far into it, but
Right.
the
Right.
Machen character, John Machen, is I kind of like I don't want him to have a lot of form. I wanted to have this villain that was very nebulous, so that
That's
the
cool.
readers themselves could kind of just play with the idea of this guy returning from the dead, and now he has command over these creatures, these malevolent poltergeists, these malevolent, you know, ghosts or whatever, apparitions, and they do whatever they want. They're kind of wild now, and he's rolling into town with these creatures, and he's there to get, you don't really know what his purpose is, but what I try to do is in each issue there is back matter. So in the first issue, there's journal entries, and I name the
Uh-huh.
character, like, there was references to things in that, and so that you read the journal entries and you kind of get the idea of where John Machen came from. Then
Okay.
in the second issue, there's a transcription of a podcast that the podcasters are on being interviewed
Yeah.
as before they head out. And
Yep.
then the third issue, there's a police report because the night after the fog ended in April of 1980, they went into his house and he looks like he died of a heart attack, but they
Hmm.
find things in his house. They find some stuff that is alarming. And what you don't realize is that Andy was helping them, go house to house and look for survivors. And he found Machen, and he found what was in Machen's house. And I kind of wanted to have this sort of creeping sensation, kind of like the way that Ed Gein kind of baffled Plainville, Wisconsin. Nobody
Yes.
knew that this guy had these dead bodies in his
Yeah.
house.
They had no
So
idea.
Machen was kind of the same way. He was just this kind of old man who told all the kids spooky stories on the beach at night, and he was kind of like a local color guy. And so yeah, it's been a lot of fun to kind of just play with the mythos of the light of the entity that is the fog.
And you can tell that I mean it's been such a good story so far. I can't wait to pick up issue 4. And did you say it's going to end? Is that where it ends at? It's going to
It's
be
a
a
four
full
issue series,
issue. Okay.
and it ends on a high cliffhanger. I I really wanted to be able to do more, and like,
Yes.
these books are budgeted,
Yes.
and I wanted it to be, I think everybody wants their books to be a huge hit, so I wanted everybody to want to read it. So I ended it kind of on a high cliffhanger, because and I wanted people to be like, oh, come on, this can't be it, because like it makes me think of the ends of Carpenter movies like Halloween, where
Hmm.
you look over the ledge and Michael Myers' body's gone. You know, Captain Blake shows up at the end of the movie. He's not gone. You know, there's
Yep.
still vengeance to be had.
Yep.
And I kind of wanted to play with that. And again, it was like
Cool.
serious homage to Carpenter's own storytelling techniques. And I just wanted to kind of give people this love letter to John Carpenter, because he's had a huge influence on me. So of course I want to just make this whole project about the way he tells a story out of
Yeah.
respect.
Yeah. That's really cool. So what was the overall experience like writing this series?
Um, there were moments where it was challenging because like any writer, you kind of have ideas, and some of them kind of take off and some of them permutate, and then
Yeah.
some of them will kind of flatline, or they won't have the effect you wanted them to have. And there were a couple places where I kind of wrote myself into a corner and had to kind of like cleverly, because I letter the comic, that means I can kind of self edit. So
Hmm.
I could kind of control the tempo of things by changing passages. And I worked with somebody from Massive who was putting the books together for us too, who was very just absolutely a joy to work with, because he was helping me, edit the editor kind of thing. And so he would send me notes like, hey, this doesn't quite work. And I was like, I would agree with you 100%. There was like
Mhm.
only one or two places where he wasn't wrong. And
Yeah.
so, what am I to say? Like, I don't have a lot of ego when it comes to people editing me because I think it's a natural part of the process.
Yeah.
So,
Of
like,
course.
the challenges were you have so many pages of content, you have, so much room, and you've got to be able to land your plane. And you want to tell a solid 3-act story. Initially, I saw some of the criticisms for the first issue. Oh, it's too much, not enough spooky, too much talky. Um, I don't know how
Mm,
many of these people watch movies in America, but
it
that's how
needs.
American storytelling works. It's a 3-act
Yeah.
story structure. And when you've got 4 comic books to do a 3-act story structure in, your first act is number 1. And if you can't launch that, if you can't get people interested off of that, and number 1 ends on a suspenseful hanger with like a dark figure.
I thought so.
That's most if these guys are horror experts, they need to go back and watch some more horror movies because that's how they all work.
Yeah.
I basically
Definitely.
gave them the comic book equivalent of a structured film.
I
And
dude, I thought
you
it was
get
paced
kind of,
pretty well.
yeah, I that's kind of where I pride myself as pacing. And it's like, I also think that the modern comic book in independent publishers, the format needs to change. I don't think 4 issues is very effective. I
Yeah.
would much rather, and I talk about this with Ryan Swanson, the other co-publisher, often,
Mm.
that I feel like if we trimmed it to 3 issues and we made number 1 double sized so that
Mhm.
you would have gotten the Fog 1 and 2 as number 1, it would
Yeah.
have been a completely different ballgame. And I
Okay.
think that it would have been a more effective way of hooking people in because they would have gotten that horror element that they wanted at the end of the first issue. But
Yep.
you simply
That makes
you only
sense.
have so many pages, and I don't want to tell a half-baked story where you're rushing from page to page, and it's, a standard comic book that's 24 pages typically has about 10 to 12 scenic shifts. So that only gives you about 2 pages per scene. And
Mm.
you've got to say enough, and you've got to have a big enough cast for something like this because the original Fog had about 8 people you were following around,
Mhm.
6, 8. And you're kind of trying to replicate that so it feels familiar. I think that it's more important, just like Marvel movies. The success of those Marvel Studios movies is the
Yeah.
tonal accuracy and the pacing. And that's all I want to do with this is the same thing. Tonal accuracy and well-paced story that led you somewhere. And I basically lead you up to the side of the cliff and I leave you hanging on it. And I really want people to contact Sumerian and be like, hey, I want more of this. It's what's crazy is that so many retailers have reached out to me, pardon me, as I've been going doing book signings and just meeting retailers, talking to retailers, and they're
Mm.
all like, I heavily underordered this. Why
Yeah.
isn't there a second printing of
Yeah.
number 1? Because I know lots of people that love this book and want more of this book.
I
Why
do too.
isn't there more coming? Yeah.
Well,
So
and I was gonna say that kind of leads me to the next thing that I wanted to talk about. Like, where was the promotion behind it? Like, there was a lot of word of mouth from the fans. Like, I got a lot of friends that are into the series, but why don't I don't know? It's kind of frustrating to that there's no promotion behind it at all. There's no, I don't know.
the hard truth, and I don't want to get in trouble, but I this is just the honest truth about it. There isn't a lot of marketing money in independent comics. There
Mm.
isn't. And there is this notion that if we throw it up on Twitter, if we throw it up on Instagram, if we throw it up on Facebook, that people will share it. But the law of diminishing intent kind of hinders that. But there is like target marketing is really hard to kind of navigate on social media. It's difficult because it's hit and miss, and you're kind of,
Yeah.
what little money you're making in profit, you're pissing into the wind with some of that stuff. So I like Yes, I agree that there is a lack of like proper marketing, like where you've got like ads and trailers and
I
things like
just feel
that.
like you have this good book, man. You got this really good book, and it's I don't know. I don't know. It,
I understand your frustration, because creators feel that way too.
yeah,
Like,
well, I hear it all the time. I hear it all the time from people, and I don't know. This is such a good book, man, and a
I'm
lot of
glad you
word of
liked
mouth.
it.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
killer. It's killer. You can tell that you're a real horror fan. You're an authentic horror fan, and you can tell that you put your heart into it. And dude, speaking of that, what are some of your favorite horror movies?
Well, Halloween, hands down, number one. Um, Man, like this is weird, but like I really liked Skinamarink when I went and saw it in the theater, and it
I don't know
was,
if I've ever seen that one.
it's weird and it's an experience, and
Weird.
there's like two lines of dialogue in the whole thing, kind of thing, and it's mostly like ambient noise and weirdness and like angled visuals. I really love The Witch. Would thou loves to live deliciously or whatever. That was uncannily good. Um, a lot of the
The
modern
bubble.
stuff, Hereditary,
Yeah.
Jacob's Ladder
Oh, that
is a
one's
movie that
crazy.
sits with me so well, so it's haunted me since I was a teenager.
Very twisted. Yeah.
What's another horror movie I absolutely
Isn't
love?
that based on a true story too? Isn't Jacob's Ladder like loosely based on a true
I don't.
story?
That'd be interesting to find out. I didn't know that.
Maybe we're not think. Maybe I'm not thinking the same movie. I don't know.
It's like, but it makes total sense. From the perspective of like, I mean, spoiler alert, it's about a dude in his own head as he's dying from nerve gas.
It is
And
the same movie. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it's really hard to watch that movie. And when you come together with that, I love Lost Highway, which is another really weird suspense thriller. Um,
Yeah, that's a good
there
one.
was this movie called The
I haven't seen
Night
it in a
Watch.
while.
Have you ever heard of this movie? It had Ewan McGregor and Nick Nolte. It was like
Yes,
a
I have.
direct to TV. Okay, I love this movie because Nick Nolte is terrifying as he's like a cop who's a serial killer. And
Okay.
Josh Brolin is Ewan McGregor's buddy that's like trying to figure out his life, and he's, got hookers in restaurants with him, and just crazy shit. But you've got this guy who's a necrophiliac,
Mm.
and he's hanging out in the morgue with this night watchman, and
Wow.
that's a great movie. Seven's another amazing piece of
That's a
film
good
that,
one. Brad Pitt.
yeah, yeah. Oh, I mean the Zodiac. I mean, he's not the Zodiac killer, the Deadly Sins killer, and it's what's in the box. Those
That
kinds. I like
was
suspense thrillers more. I'm not a big schlock like gore fan, but I'm also like, and this is probably like a little um, early, but I love Nosferatu, and I'm in the process of putting together a um, public domain Nosferatu graphic novel, and it's going to be a series
awesome.
of three. Hopefully, if the first one does well, I'll definitely make two more. It's basically
Awesome.
it's right now the working title for it is The Curse of Count Orlok, and it's about how he becomes that creature. I Dracula's cool, but when you're a renegade German filmmaker who makes a banned movie because Bram Stoker's estate goes after you, and
Hmm.
then 70 years or 50 years later, they make an remake of your illegal movie, and it's banned in so many countries. And then it's like the movie Shadow the Vampire came out.
Hmm.
Um, it's got uh, what's the name of the guy? Willem Dafoe. He's going to be in the Nosferatu remake.
Okay.
It's coming out at Christmas time. Willem Dafoe and John Malkovich they play Murnau and Shrek, the guy who was the actor who played the original Nosferatu Orlok. And
Okay.
it's about the making of Nosferatu, but it supposes that Shrek was actually a real vampire. And I don't,
Nice.
if you haven't seen this independent movie,
Yeah.
go find it tonight
I'm
because
gonna
when you're done, you'll be like, what did I just watch? Holy shit, that was really great.
I gotta check it out.
Yeah, I love it. So Nosferatu's kind of been with me for a while. And I just said, I want to kind of tell this like widescreen format, transitional movie about how this guy became this creature that's obsessed with, you know, drinking blood. He kind of looks like a rat. In some of the lore, everywhere he goes, he brings the Black Plague with him and rats. In
Wow.
other lore, he's, kind of this mystical creature that can manipulate himself and move objects with his mind. And there's all this kind of cool stuff that I want to condense down and make into this kind of like prequel. And then the other, if this one does well, which I'm
Mhm.
hoping it does, that I've budgeted out to have like a big name cover artist. The
Wow.
artist I'm working with is a storyboarder who worked on um, two of the Crisis cartoons for Max.
Oh, that's cool.
He did
That's
some of the
very
storyboards
cool.
for it. Yeah, Jeremy's really
Awesome.
talented, and I just wanted to have kind of this haunting quality to it. And then
Sounds
if we
awesome.
kind of yeah, if I really am right now. I'm in love with. I don't. Have you bought any of the distillery books, the magazine
I
format
picked
graphic
up
novels?
one. I picked up one. It was a horror book. I can't remember the name of it,
Is
but
it Spectrograph or
Spectrograph.
Gone?
I
Okay,
picked up the
Spectrograph.
blank.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. I've picked up every cover but the sketch blank. Like I just got the 1 in 50 on eBay for like $5. I got really lucky. It's like an
Hmm.
$80, $90 book. And I collect too. So it's like I've been chasing down all the chase variants for I love that format. I want to work there so badly,
I
but it's
like the
invite
format.
only. You kind of got to be like a big name guy or woman. There's so much talent, big name creator. And I'm not there yet. But I love that format. So I may make a magazine style format
I love that
perfect
format,
bound
man.
book, and
I
just
love it.
it's worth the 9.99, and having kind of this cinematic scale to it, that I just love it so much.
I
um,
always pick up the DC Black Label books, and I
Same.
really appreciate the that format. And I picked up the blank for Spectrograph, and I read it, and I enjoyed it. I thought it was cool, but that was the only distillery book that I've picked up so far. But it was cool though.
Yeah,
It was good.
I recommend that one. The Blood Brothers Mother, Brian Azzarello and Eduardo Rizzo Western. It's
Uh-huh.
gorgeous. I read a ton of Western, any kind of Western comic book, I'll buy it. Jonah Hex, I bought them all. That book
Do
was
you currently
severely
collect?
underrated.
Are you a collector?
Jimmy Palmier, what's that?
Are you a collector?
Yes. Well, I'm a reformed collector. Like I started out
Okay.
collecting comics as a young boy, in the late 70s, early 80s. My family was in the military, so comic books as a hobby kind of gave me like structure. And
Yeah.
there was armed forces bookstores on the military bases, so I bought comics to kind of keep me sane.
Oh, that's
And
cool. That's cool.
you find them in like I lived in Korea, I lived in Germany, and by the time I was in my early 40s, because I'm 47 now, I had about 15,000. And then
Wow. Holy
I
shit,
started
man.
selling my collection a couple years ago. Now I collect smaller. Like I
Yeah.
collect more to like the things I want. I collect all the like right now I read it's so funny. When I started reading comics and like buying them with my allowance when I was like 7, 8, it was G.I.
Yeah.
Joe and Transformers. And
Yep.
now I'm buying G.I. Joe and Transformers again. The Energon
They're
Universe stuff
awesome.
is so good.
So good.
I can't. The Universal Monsters stuff that they did. I just bought the Dracula
Amazing.
hardcover.
Really
Yeah,
good.
yeah,
Really good.
gorgeous, gorgeous work. I want to
Simmons
work
on
at
the
Skybound
interior.
so bad too, but yeah.
Dude, you would be a perfect fit. I really do feel like you'd be a perfect fit, man. And like, but that book though, Simmons on the interior for that Dracula book, dude, it was awesome. Holy shit.
Gorgeous.
Yeah.
It's just fucking gorgeous. But yeah, all those books are awesome. Those are the books I read. I'm looking for I like when I worked at Newsarama, X-Men, Alpha Flight, those were like my bread and butter as a kid. So I'm
Cool.
looking forward to
Cool.
the X-Men reboot. And I'm recollecting the Claremont run right now. So right
Fun.
now I have
That's good stuff.
143 up to 280, and I've got little I have a few issues here and there that I'm missing like 5 issues between 143 and 280, and then everything underneath it I either have facsimile copies, and I've got a couple like classic like Claremont Burn, but they're like not good grade books. They're just I bought them because they were on sale and they were like readable. So I'm about 50 books shy of having another Claremont run. Um, and I get
Nice,
things
dude.
graded and autographed. I'm super into getting things graded.
I just
Now,
recently got into that myself. What
yeah,
type of stuff
fun.
are you getting graded right now?
Well, I literally sitting next to me right now, I have the first 6 issues of Transformers, all the 1 in 50 variants, and they're all signed by Daniel Warren Johnson. And
Uh-oh.
they're all 9.8s. Like I
Uh-oh.
got like super lucky. Yeah,
Wow.
I just had the Spider Boy #1, 1 in 100. I got a remark with Humberto
Damn.
Ramos. I got the secret variant with the reveal from Spider-Man. It's like Spider-Man #7, signed by Dan Slott and Humberto and the guy who colored the book, I think. So it's like I've got
Damn,
like
man.
sets of things. And
That is
I'm
awesome.
about to send off. I'm actually about to send off 10 of my books. So Soko, the Fog, stuff like that. I have my own Fog variant that people can buy directly from me.
Which
I'm
is
going to get some
sick.
signed and
It's
some
sick.
graded. Yeah,
Um, that's such a sick cover. Yeah, you sent it to me and show me. It's awesome. And you're gonna be
yeah,
making your rounds at some different cons and things like that throughout the year. And you'll have copies of this stuff with you, correct?
yes, yes. Um, I'm actually going to be in Tampa next weekend for Tampa Toy and Comic, the Tampa Toy and Comic Expo.
That,
It's a
that's gonna be
1 day
fun.
show, but it looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. Really cheap to get in, family environment. There's going to be a couple of other really big name older creators there, like Patrick Broderick and Sergio
Sweet.
Corello.
Sweet.
Um, that's next week on July. I don't think they've announced it yet, so I'll just go ahead and plug it. I'll be at SuperCon in North Miami, Fort Lauderdale, for the
That,
weekend. I'll be
that's gonna be
featured there as
fun.
a guest. I'm also going to be in October. I'll be in Chattanooga, where you're at
Yeah,
Chattanooga Comic Con.
looking forward to
I'm
meeting
really
you. Yeah,
excited about that.
that's gonna be
That's
fun.
got a really
I
great
can't wait.
lineup
It
for
is
sure.
Jay Lee's gonna be there, I think.
Yeah, and he's
So
got distillery variants that I'm gonna get signed. I'm excited.
yeah.
Yeah, I've already bought like I actually went and bought like I had a bunch of his early Namor stuff from when he started. I
Yeah.
loved all that. It was so grainy and like it had such great texture.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've got stuff of his that I got speaking as a collector, I got the 1 in 75 Virgin Space Ghost that he did. And so
What?
I'm gonna get I really want to get that signed and graded just
You
because it's
have to get
gorgeous.
it signed. You got to get it
Yeah.
signed. Yeah.
Is CGC going to be at that show, or is it going to be like a I don't
Surely they
know.
would be. I would think that they would be. I don't know for sure though. I haven't seen anything for sure.
I'll have to
So
talk.
hopefully,
The showrunners, two of the one of the guys that is on the organization of that show lived in Valdosta. It's like friends with a really good buddy of mine that's going to go to the show with me so we can all hang out.
well, that'll be
So kind
fun.
of like small world.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's gonna be fun. I'm looking forward to that. Me and a close friend from work that's a big horror fan are both gonna go to that together. So hopefully I
Cool.
can get some fog books signed by you because definitely want to meet you while we're there.
100%. Yeah,
That's
grab
gonna be
some food. Something.
hell
Yeah.
yeah. What
Yeah.
is what did you use for like what was your inspiration when you knew that you were going to write this book? Did you go back and watch the original movie to try to get in the mindset, or did you go the opposite direction where you're like, I don't want to get influenced by it too much, I'm going to just go in with a clear head? And how did you approach it? I'm just curious.
I literally watched it 3 days before they asked me if I wanted to work on it. Just
Oh, okay.
ironic. Like I watched it.
Wow.
He thought I was kidding. He was like, "You're kidding, right?" I was like, "No,
No.
I like literally sat here and watched it because it had been a while." And I my approach to it was that I wanted to tell a new story in the same sand. I wanted to play in the same sandbox
And it
with the
is. It
same
is.
toys,
Yeah.
but I didn't want to echo anything. I
Yeah.
wanted the only thing I wanted to echo was the notion of how scary it would be to be unable to see what's around you, the inability to know what's around a corner, that something's lurking, that you're kind of at the mercy of entities you can't shoot, you can't
Yep.
kill them.
Yep.
And so it was really, for me, it was much more about paying respect to the original movie than anything. And I wanted to make things that fans of that movie would pick this up and then tell people that had never seen the movie, hey, you need to read this comic. Also, go on the internet and watch this movie first. And then all of a sudden, you've made new fans of a movie that's 40 years old, and they're reading a comic book that's modern. And so it's like you just kind of just spread the love, and it organically grows.
That's awesome. Yeah, because it did make me want to go back after reading this series. It made me want to go back and watch the original again. And then I watched this video on YouTube where it was kind of pointing out different Easter eggs throughout the movie that I never would have noticed, but it was very cool. And that's how I could tell that you were a horror fan without even asking you. You've done the same thing with the writing in the series. And you used the same sandbox, but I really feel like you improved on the story, and I think you did the story proud. Honestly, I think it's really good.
Thanks, man. I really
It's a
appreciate
lot
that.
of the same characters, but it's like you were saying, what, 42 years later? Or
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, you've got Stevie Wayne. You've got little bit players, like Bennett, who most people
Rich.
most people don't recognize. Like it's like it's already past. But in The Fog, John Carpenter plays a walk-on role where he's basically like the handyman for the church. And he comes in and he says to Father Malone, hey, can I get paid? And then that's it. You don't see him. So I was like, well, what if this guy was like still around? And what if he's dating Stevie Wayne? Which, ironically, John Carpenter was married to Adrienne Barbeau when that movie was filmed in 1980.
Oh wow.
So I paired them up as an homage joke, and
Yeah, that's
they were
cool.
act like, most people don't know that, is that he was married to her at the time.
That
And
is pretty
so
cool.
they're dating, these two fictional characters are dating. And it was, I needed people to kill, you know
Yeah,
I needed bodies. I needed bodies for body count. So
because
I
eventually
created,
the shit does hit the fan. You
yeah,
got some build up, but then in issue 3, shit starts to hit the fan. And it gets crazy.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's more behind, like it's in the shadows in number two. Like I wanted to kind of creep up on you, and
It
I,
does.
people are dying, but I don't want to give it away, and
Yeah.
I want the readers' minds to be the real vessel here, because that in and of itself is how comic book works. It's a sequential image. You look at this static image and this static image, and your brain does the math between the two, and that's what creates the movement. So that's all
Yeah.
I was doing this kind of meta sequential idea that I'm showing you these horrific elements, but I'm
Yeah.
not showing you a lot. I'm giving you just the tip of the iceberg.
Okay. Well, what's been your favorite part about doing this series? Well, what's your favorite part about writing comic books?
I mean, I can kind of do whatever I want, and like the budget is endless. When you think about comics and you think about movies, you can only go so far as how much money you have to make your movie. But
Yeah.
with a
Yeah.
comic book, it's basically a storyboard, so the sky's the limit. And if your artist is willing to draw whatever crazy shit comes out of your head, you can kind of there's a lot of power in that. And it's a fun
Yeah.
medium that kind of it's kind of a bastard child of cinema and cartoons and novels. So you get kind of this fun visual. You can control the pacing and the page turning elements, and
Mhm.
but you're telling a great story, and you get to kind of have this thing that works on more than one cylinder. Which, and when somebody's reading a novel, it's the prose and it's the head of the reader. But now you have, color and color theory and
Yeah.
art and sequentials, and you can, do things with the text and the typeset and create emotion. I mean, I'm literally reading this font psychology book right now about like how to manipulate people and how to sell products with like the proper font choice. And the same thing goes with comics. Like I buy all my fonts from guys that are kind of big name letterers,
Mhm.
and I letter my own comics because it saves
That's very
money
cool.
and because I love, if I could draw, I'd have so many more comic books already, but I suck at drawing. And I've taught myself how to flat color. I write, I went to college and got a creative writing degree. But I've taught myself for years how to letter comics because I
Nice.
wanted to learn the process. And it helps you become a better storyteller. It helps you. It's definitely helped me become a better writer
Mhm.
by lettering, because now I understand like how much is too much and how little is too little. And like there's a happy medium for like an
Okay.
average page having so many words on it. And like, with these things costing 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, $10, they need to have material inside of them. They
Yes.
need to have, you know, um, heft, weight.
Mm.
It can't just be pictures. It can't just be all whimsy and like interpretation. It can't. There needs to be meat on the bones. And because, we lose everybody, kids to video games, we lose adults to novels and movies,
Yeah.
and you got to learn how to keep your audience by telling a good story.
Okay. Now, I think that, and you brought this up a little bit with thinking that it would be a good idea to do a double size first issue. Or is this going to be collected in a trade paperback?
Trade.
Because I really think that this will be it will be a good read in just one sitting, just one nice chunk of story. I really think it'd be great in trade paperback.
I agree. Yeah, as far as I know, I hope so. Because I would love to sell them at shows
Yeah.
and put my autograph on the front of them. I'm very proud of this project, and I really hope that it gets collected and put out for mass consumption. I think that it'll turn a lot of heads,
I
and
think so
I
too.
think a lot of people will enjoy it that are fans of the movie.
Yeah, I think so too, man. Yeah, that's where my frustration lies with the promotion and stuff. I just would like to hear it being put out there more. It's just such a good title. But
Well,
what?
you're doing the Lord's work, man. You're putting out the podcast. You're
Yeah,
getting out there and allowing me to talk about it. So I mean,
I love
this
it.
is just part of the process. Like as a guy who's a former journalist, it really does matter that creators get out and hustle and sell their projects.
Mm,
Even Marvel and DC only have so many hours in a day. They have marketing people and they can, but they can't advertise for every project. Every project can't get the same attention that a major project like X-Men relaunch or, you know, Thor getting stabbed in a vampire story,
yeah,
whatever. Spoiler
yeah,
alert. But I think everybody knows about that now.
yeah,
It's been a month.
yeah.
Um,
It's been a while. Blood Hunt's been
yeah,
out for a minute.
it's been out for about 6 weeks. I bought that first issue. I got that variant. I was excited.
Are you liking it? Are
The
you
the
enjoying
East.
the event so far?
It logistically, if you're a person who buys your books rurally or like at like Barnes and Noble or in some way where you're like, I think that the R-rated thing is super cool as a concept.
Yeah,
But
the
the
red band.
delivery of that, if they can't get an R-rated one and they get like number two of the book and it's the PG-13 one,
Yeah,
the stories don't add up. You have to read the R-rated one. You
the straight
can't read the
red band.
R-rated one and the PG-13 one together because the violence is different.
Yep, it
So
is.
there's
It is.
kind of a problem inherent in that I people are starting to point out. Um, I thought it was cool. I Most comics aren't like, I don't say that I hate things anymore.
Hmm.
That because I don't want to yuck on somebody's yum.
Yeah, I don't like that
Comics,
either.
most comics are not made for me. They're not. I'm 47. I am not the I'm not the primary.
True, true,
The kids, the readers, the young adult readers have different sensibilities. We don't like the same things.
true.
Like I'm literally going back and buying Chris Claremont's run on X-Men because that was the coolest thing I ever read as a kid.
Oh,
You
hell
know,
yeah.
I'm
I
going
think,
and buying all of Alan Moore's Captain Britain, British Captain Britain books, the magazine formats,
oh,
because I love
man.
magazine format
Oh,
and because
yeah.
it's Alan Moore and Alan Davis cutting their teeth on superheroes before they
Wow.
were big, you know?
That's cool, man.
And
That's really
oh,
cool.
they're gorgeous. I highly
They
recommend
are.
if you can go on eBay and hunt down the 13 or 14 issues of Captain Britain and get them, or just buy the omnibus. The omnibus is worth its weight in gold, and
I,
it's
I've,
just
I've, I don't own any of them, but I've seen them. They are beautiful. They're because
I've got they're
they were put out
expensive.
in England, right? They're in England
Um,
where they
no,
got put
no,
out.
well, no, the omnibuses you can get a Captain Britain omnibus here. I mean, they're 150 bucks, 200 bucks.
But
But
like the
I got
original.
one off of I got a Panini omnibus, so it was
Mhm.
printed in like Europe, and
Oh, okay.
and I got it used, so it was like 55 bucks. But it had a cover
That's
that
pretty
I
good.
preferred. That was Alan Davis work that I just absolutely love. And I was like, yeah, I got to get this Panini one. So I've got a Panini Captain Britain omnibus that I don't touch my originals. I'm kind of a nerd with the collecting and fingerprints. I put gloves on when I handle old books,
I
stuff
do
like
that
that.
with my more
Yeah,
expensive books.
yeah. I have rubber gloves. My girlfriend's always like, why are there latex gloves over there? I was like, prostate check. Come on. And come
Yeah,
on over.
you don't want to know.
And I'm like, stick your finger up. Like, no, but no. I honestly, she sees me handling stuff because I just like now that like I think I showed this to you earlier. Now that I have this book that tells me why CGC marks my books down, I
I
am
would
gonna
love to
go out
read
of my
that.
way. I'm hunting a 10. I'm hoping one of my books that I signed comes back as a 9 or a 10, just so I can experience seeing one, and then I can sell it to a buddy of mine for a markup.
Do you have any do you have any covers that are metal or square bound, the spine or square bound? Because sometimes you can get like 9s and 10s out of the
Oh,
metals or the square bound books.
okay, so that's kind of what I was hoping for with my foil variant. So when I ordered the variant through Sumerian, they have a third party printer that does digital printing. The cool thing
Okay.
about this printer is that they bag and board the books as they're coming off the press. So
Oh,
these
nice.
books are shipped in bags and boards. They're not dinged up from
They're never
shaking around in
handled.
the box. They're tight. So I was just looking at every copy going, these look as perfect as I can find.
Just crisp, crispy.
Yeah,
That's not
no
awesome.
tears on the corners from cutting.
Yeah. And
The pages are white because
shipping
it's a
and
higher cardstock.
yep.
You know, I'm sitting here just kind of going, I've got to figure out how to get these to CGC. So there is a way to CGC your own signature books, and there's like a chain of custody form that you fill out that says, I signed this book, I'm the creator on this book, this form goes with this book, and you pay so much, and I think you get a little bit of a discount because you're a creator,
Okay.
and they don't charge you
That's
like like a signing fee on a book. I sent in the Wolverine miniseries to get Frank Miller and Chris Claremont to sign it, and it
wow.
was a chunk of money, but it was
I
worth
bet.
it.
They're
But
legends.
like
I mean, of
I
course.
don't charge for my autograph because who am I? I'm Steve Ekstrom.
You're an
I
awesome
just
writer, man.
right, but I want I'm just grateful that people buy my books. And if I get to a point where I'm like 75 years old and somebody wants to pay me 90 bucks to sign their book, I'll do it,
Yeah.
but they can also get it for free. If they find me at the right time in the right place, I'll sign your baby's forehead if you want, whatever.
Well, hopefully I will never have another baby. So no babies for me. I'm
Yeah, I hear
42,
you.
man.
Somebody
So
else's baby, but just pick
somebody
up
else's
somebody else's
baby.
baby. I'll sign it.
Yeah. I'll babysit for somebody just to get
Yeah,
their forehead signed.
nice.
Where do you go from here, man? Where do you go? You're doing the Nosferatu, which sounds freaking sweet, dude. It sounds awesome. But what do you got? What do you got coming up?
I have other projects at Sumerian, but I don't know the status on them right now. I can't really speak
Hmm.
on it.
Okay.
One of them is connected to a movie and a television show that the owner of the company produced. The movie was called American Satan, the spin-off TV show from the movie is called Paradise City. They're filming season 2 of it now, I believe.
Oh,
My
cool.
comic book tie the movie to the TV show, and they're kind of about members of a band, like a singer and a bassist in a band, and like the Faustian deal that they made. Um,
Okay.
those are cool. I had a lot of fun making those, and I hope they see the light of day. And then
Sounds awesome.
the other project that I worked on is another music centric project because we are owned by a record label.
Mhm.
Um, and it's a science fiction story, a weird sci-fi story inspired by the music of the Smashing Pumpkins.
That is awesome because I grew up listening to Smashing Pumpkins. So I've
Me too.
always
Me
been a
too.
fan.
Yeah, me too.
So
I remember listening to Gish in like 1992, 1993. And it's kind of got some weird kind of fantastical like I hate to say this, but like it's like QAnon adjacent kind of like sciency fear mongering type stuff that
I like
it
it.
was a pitch that was given to me and I had to kind of riff on it. And
Yeah.
so this is what I kind of came up with. And it's about three kids at a military school and they uncover this weird science experiment that's kind of gonna, fuck up the world.
So
And
some
they kind of
like
stumble
Stranger
onto it with
Things
one of their
vibes.
um kind of. Do you remember this movie? It had Matthew Broderick. It was called like Project X or the Manhattan Project or something. And it had like monkeys in it.
No,
Do you
no,
remember that? It was
nah. I
like
would
a mid
remember that.
80s movie.
Oh,
Um I can't like I wanted to have the same vibe as this movie that kind of was like War Games or like this other movie that had him in it. And I just wanted to have these kids at a school trying to do the right thing. And there's kind of a kooky conspiracy theory guy that's actually based on the owner of the company, Ash, and how he kind of opens their eyes to some problematic stuff. And they have a teacher who's on the up and up, and he's kind of a fulcrum for their ability to kind of stand up for themselves. And it's a really cool book that I actually the lead character is based on my son Cameron. So
oh
and his
wow.
best friend is based on a buddy of mine who passed away a few years ago, who was one of my best friends in high school, who was the
Wow.
person who introduced me to the Smashing Pumpkins. So
Oh, that's too cool. Too
yeah,
cool.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Well, what an awesome tribute to your friend and your son as well. That's
yeah,
really cool.
for sure.
Add the little personal touches to it. Yeah, man, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah, yeah.
Um, where can people? You're an awesome dude. I've really enjoyed talking to you, and I enjoyed talking to
Thanks,
you
man.
backstage as well, man. I hope that I get the chance to meet you at Chattanooga Comic Con.
Oh
I'm
yeah,
sure
oh yeah.
I'm sure that I
We'll be
will.
in touch. Yeah, totally.
But
If you ever want to
how
have me
can
back on to talk about comics,
oh
I'm in.
hell yeah, dude. Anytime. I would definitely love that. How can people keep in touch with you? How can people
Um,
stay up to date on your current projects?
I should have a website launched in the next week or so. I was telling you about this before the show.
Yeah.
I've spent the last 3 weeks building this website and getting ready to like launch it. And it had like, a bio page and my CV and like a page for if you're interested in hiring me and all this stuff. And I launched it and then it said website in error and it deleted like all the copywriting I did.
Man.
Luckily, it didn't delete the products on the. It's like a big cartel site that I bought a domain name. So my
Yeah.
website will go live. It's down right now in maintenance mode, so I can kind of repair the loss.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
man, I was floored. But it's steveekstrom.rocks. I bought it. It was kind of a funny domain name that I got for like 5 years because steveekstrom.sucks was like really expensive, and that was where what I wanted. It was like $99 a year, and I couldn't justify the expense without, you know, talking to the CFO, and she was just like, "How about we get this one that's positive?" And I was like, "Dude, Steve Ekstrom sucks is awesome," and she was like, "Eh, is it though?" And I was like, "It's hilarious." So anyway, that's the website will hopefully be live in the next, week and a half. I'd like to have it up before I go to Tampa. Not this weekend, but next weekend. And yeah, it's and I Instagram, Facebook. I think I have like 50 friends that I can make on Facebook before I'm full. But yeah, Instagram. I don't. I'm on Twitter, but I barely use it. It's
Yeah,
kind of a
same,
toilet.
same. So
But
so you're
yeah,
pretty active on IG though. You post
yeah,
your stuff on there. People can keep up with you through there in the meantime until you get the
absolutely.
site set up.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And they can get copies of the fog from me. They can go to Sumerian.ink and get them. I prefer them to get them from me.
Yeah.
Um, because I get to eat and pay bills.
Well,
And
and like, why wouldn't you want to get them straight from the writer, man? You get it
right,
signed from the dude who wrote
right,
the book.
yeah, and I mail them to you direct, and it's
Oh,
really
Chris.
easy. But yeah, I have my own variant. Basically, I have a variant of number one that is a virgin on cardstock with art by Drew Ragland. He's a painter out of California. He's got a Bill Sinkovich vibe to him. It's a gorgeous
He does.
cover that you can see on
It
my
is.
Instagram. And I also have a foil one. The standard versions are 25. The foils I only made 50 of, and there's only going to be 50 of them. I think I'm down to about 20 or 22, and they're 75 piece.
Okay, that's reasonable. I mean,
It's
it's a
not bad.
beautiful cover. When you see the
Yeah,
cover though,
yeah,
you'll understand. It's
yeah,
beautiful.
totally.
I wish I had a if I would have thought beforehand, I wish I had it loaded up where I could put it on the screen, man. I apologize
Yeah,
for that.
sorry, I should have thought about that.
It's a beautiful cover. So I messed that one up, guys. Sorry about that. But
You'll be
check it
able to
out
get
on
it
his
on my website in
Instagram.
a week.
Yeah, you'll be able to check it out on there. And he'll be making his rounds at these different cons this year. So if you see Steve at any of these cons, guys, be sure to go tell him what's up. Tell him how you feel about the fog, and get your copy from him and get it signed and hang out and have a good time and check out his booth.
Please do
Hell
stop
yeah,
by.
'cause Steve's awesome.
I'll talk your
I,
face off. So
I've enjoyed talking to you, man. I think you're a really cool guy. So,
thanks, man. I appreciate it.
what do you said you're picking up? I was going to ask you what you enjoyed collecting, but you said you're collecting that the Claremont stuff for X-Men. So that's like your bread and butter right now, right?
Yeah, and like all the distillery stuff, like I basically when a new distillery book comes out, like I was able to get I don't know if you know about the White Boat variant with the record in it. Do you
I've
know
heard
about
of that
that?
title and I've seen a lot of the covers, but I don't know if I've seen
Okay,
that one.
so Scott Snyder and it's Franco Villa and there's a guy that they get. I guess they made a song to coincide with the White Boat, and so there's a variant that comes with a record, like some colored vinyl,
Oh,
and
cool.
it's signed. Like I was able to get one pre-sale, and now they're on eBay for like $400, $500, $600.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But
Anytime that a comic book comes out with vinyl with it, for some reason it's like super expensive. It always ends up. I
yeah,
can't remember what title it was a couple years ago, but there was another title and it was released with vinyl, and people were going crazy over
we
this
were gonna
book.
try to do that with the fog. Believe it or not, initially we kind of batted around the idea of trying to get Cody Carpenter to like do a remix of the fog theme for
Oh yeah,
vinyl. Like that was something we talked about at the office. We were like, what if we could do this and then put this vinyl in, with number one? And I
that
was
would have
like,
been amazing.
yeah, can we please do that?
Hell yeah.
Because I knew it would be hot. And this white boat thing was super hot right now. But yeah, the distillery books, Transformers, Duke. I'm really excited about Destro because
Yeah.
Destro is like my favorite. I have both the Diamond Select busts of Destro, the gold and the silver.
Oh shit. Hell yeah.
Oh yeah,
Did you
I'm
read
I'm a
did you
nut.
read Cobra Commander, Josh Williamson? That was
That
good.
book was awesome.
Yes, it was good. I liked it.
So cool. And they brought Cobra Law back and it made sense,
Yep.
to have Globulus and Nemesis Enforcer. Like I was
And
like, this isn't like I never thought it would work, but it makes sense.
it's working. It really is
Yeah.
working, and it's leading us straight into Destro, man. Just like you were talking about, and it's going to be so cool. I don't know about Scarlet. I don't know if I'm going to pick that one up or not, honestly. But
It's focused in the Arashikaji stuff. So it's like it's gonna be ninja heavy, which is
Okay.
cool. I'm gonna
That's
give it a
good.
shot. I'm just a huge Destro mark. Like I've got a OG Destro figure on my desk that
That's
just sits
crazy.
and holds me to gunpoint to work. Um, but yeah, like I have the Destro busts. I've got I squared away a copy of the 1 in 100 Destro variant on eBay a few weeks ago. I've got the Duke 1 in
It's
100
fair.
with Starscream on the front. Well, that was pretty cool. I want to get that graded and get it signed by John Boy Myers for
Definitely
sure.
get that. Definitely get that one signed. I'm actually I was messaging back and forth with John Boy Myers this past week. I'm really going to try to get him on Comic Book Addicts. We're trying to work out a date, and that was a little bit of a conflict. But hopefully, I can get something resolved. Maybe I can get him on one day. That'd be awesome.
He's a really nice dude. Like he's a
He's
really
very
nice
nice.
guy.
He
I met
didn't leave
him.
me on clean, so that's good.
Yeah, I met him at MegaCon Tampa before when they had two shows. They used to have
Yep.
MegaCon Orlando and Tampa, and I would my first show where I was invited as a guest was that show, and so it was cool to get to be on the. I was a guest like almost right across from him,
Wow,
and it was
what an
cool to meet
honor.
him. Yeah,
Yeah,
he was neat. But yeah, those covers are gorgeous. I
he
was
does
not
amazing
able to
work.
get the Cobra Commander Megatron cover. It just flew away, and I can't justify the expense for with
Yeah.
like $250 for a comic. I can buy a Diamond Select bust if it's on sale. Like I got really lucky that first Destro bust was like on clearance on like a heavy toy site.
Yep.
And my girlfriend was just like, "Well, your birthday's coming up." And I was like, "Really? Really?" And then she surprised me with the Pimp Daddy Destro, the Profit Director Destro
Oh,
for our
damn.
anniversary. Yeah, she was like, "Hey, I found it on sale."
She's a
I
keeper.
just got I got the Diamond Select Darth Vader with the cracked head from Obi-Wan, where it's like the helmet's
Whoa.
cracked open. Oh, it's beautiful. Um,
Sounds cool.
right now we're in the process of packing for moving, so I can't have any of this stuff out. So, but
Yeah.
it's like I'll have a dedicated office at my new apartment, and it's gonna all like I'm already looking at like display cabinets and shit. It's wild, but
Dude. Yeah,
oh yeah,
once you get moved and get it all set up, you're gonna have to post like pictures on IG for us to
oh
see.
yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. I've got four of those diamond. I've also got Doctor Doom. He's my favorite. Like if I could
I
write a Doctor
love
Doom,
Dr. Doom. Did you
he's the
check out that
man.
one shot from a couple weeks ago?
Absolutely loved it. Absolutely
Dude,
loved it.
man,
It was
I
great.
didn't pick it up and I ran back. I was scrambling around town trying to find copies and I found the 1 in 25 and I found the Perez cover, but I read the Perez cover. Dude, that was such a good story. So good.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. I want to get a Maria Wolf, the 1 in 25. She's
That's
gonna
the one
be
I
at
got.
SuperCon. I want to get that one because she's gonna be there, and it would be cool to get that signed because
I'm actually
she's
gonna
super
get
fucking talented.
she is freaking so talented.
I like pretty much every variant of hers that I've seen. I'm like, oh man, I need to get that.
She does
So new
amazing
fan.
work. Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't know if I'll ever get a chance to get mine signed, but I've got a really good looking copy though. It's definitely a 9.8 candidate, so I have to get it
nice,
graded.
nice.
Yeah,
Maybe she'll have an event. Just
maybe.
keep your eye on CGC, man. I like literally didn't know that they were having like a Walt and Louise Simonson event, and I had went and bought because I'm collecting the Claremont stuff. I'm buying little things here and there, like the first appearance of Archangel. I found I got a near mint like gem mint copy for almost nothing on eBay,
I
and now I'm
still need
sending
it
it
anyway.
in. I'm
Yeah.
sending it in. I'm like I've got to get this graded.
Yep.
And because these people are only around for so long, like we're all our days are numbered. So to get somebody's stuff on it, get it autographed so it can be in your collection, I think it's so cool. And I for many years I really did not like getting things graded, but now I see the value of it. I think it's really cool. It's a fun way to collect. It's
It
a
is.
fun way to encapsulate something and take care of it. And
Preservation. Yeah,
yeah, and it's like another level of collecting for sure.
it is. It definitely is. And it's something I found myself slowly getting into as well
Me
and getting
too.
some
Yeah, I
parts.
just started doing it a couple years ago. So, and it
Cool.
can be lucrative if you know how to move product.
Yeah, if you're smart
If
about it.
you're reselling, or if you're like it, like I get why stores can benefit from it. But
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
like I'm gonna get
definitely.
some of my own books graded so I can sell them on my website.
You
Done.
absolutely should. You definitely should. Because it's a great title, man. And if I wrote a book, I would have to have my own copy. I'd have to have a copy graded for sure for my collection. You got to
Oh,
do
I
that,
can't wait to send one to my dad. My dad doesn't read comics. He
man.
doesn't,
How cool is
but
that going to
he's
be to send your dad a
yeah,
copy of your book?
yeah, like everything that every like most of my success can really be kind of distilled to a handful of people in my life. And my father had the prescience to look at me when I graduated from college and he was like, "So what are you going to do?" And I was like, "I really want to figure out how to write comic books." Because at the time in the late 90s, there was only one avenue. You made indie books, you made bad indie books until you made good indie books. And then, you know, you could have a lot of people could get in because they had an internship. And
Mm.
unfortunately, that's like a privilege thing. Like you gotta like your parents are paying your rent, you're not getting paid to work. It's not a thing that was for me. I was from rural Georgia. So the advent of the internet kind of opened the avenues for networking and things like that. But
Absolutely.
my dad goes, "We're going to go to San Diego Comic Con," and I was like, "Wait, what's that?" He was like,
What?
"You've been collecting these things for 20 years. You don't know what Comic Con is?" And I was like, "No." He goes, "I live in San Diego, Steven. I'm going to fly you out to San Diego. We're going to go to Comic Con."
That's a
So it's the
huge
biggest
deal.
I didn't know. In
Yeah.
2002, when I went for the first time, I was clueless.
Wow.
So
That's a
I've
big
been
deal.
10 times now, and it's amazing, and I love going. I haven't been in a number of years now, but I went from basically 2002 to 2012. And then,
Wow.
when COVID hit, I was working at a publisher. I've been to New York Comic Con a couple times now. I've been to WonderCon. I've been to LA
Cool.
Comic Con. I've been to several big shows, but there's nothing like San Diego Comic Con in the
Wow.
world. And
I'd
it's
love to
just
go.
intense. I really Heroes Con is my next big like bucket list thing.
A lot of the guys that are watching right now and my typical audience, a lot of those guys go to Heroes Con. The majority of those guys
It's
go.
the Purist show. It's the last Purist show. I got a membership application to try to apply, but my schedule just is so rough with us getting ready to move that I
Yeah,
kind of just said, how about I just try for next year? So I'm going to try to be one of the pros at Heroes Con next year
that would
for
be
sure.
awesome because I'm definitely going to try to go next year. I've failed at making it there the past 2 years, but next year I've got to make sure I be there because I really want to go
For
so
sure.
bad.
For sure.
Um, but
Yeah, but yeah, I just and my dad just kind of taught me how to network, kind of helped me make my first steps into the business. And so when I any kind of success that I have, it's because of my dad. My
that's
girlfriend
great.
is heavily supportive of me and, kind of carries the team sometimes, because I'm a freelancer. And so it's like she understands that my career is kind of on the rise, and I've got to keep building towards things. And so, like Chris has been instrumental in a huge chunk of my success now. But people like Nathan Yoakum and Ryan Swanson were very great. I'm grateful that they gave me an opportunity to work with Behemoth and Sumerian and Ash Avildsen as well. Um, I'm also just the guys like Matt and Troy that gave me my first gig at Newsarama. I got to learn how to be a professional by being a journalist, and I got kind of a lot of opportunities to learn how these things were made, so that I could have kind of my finger in the publishing arena too. So I just you just remember the people who do right by it.
It sounds like you got a lot of good people in your corner, so that's good. That's really good.
I'm very fortunate.
Yeah, sounds like it. Sounds like it. To and you have a son that recently graduated high school. That's a huge accomplishment.
Yeah, congrats
Congratulations
to
there.
Cameron. Yeah, thanks. It's really awesome to see
That's a
him kind
huge
of
win.
matriculating and he's an adult now, and I'm hoping that he gets to pursue his passions the way I got to pursue mine. And he wants to be a baker, and It's amazing. The stuff he's already doing is just like stunning. The work he's done.
Some of that culinary stuff amazes me. There's some
Me
fantastic
too.
chefs and bakers out there. That's
Me
really
too.
cool. I think that's awesome.
Thanks.
Man, well, I've really enjoyed talking to you, and I'm grateful that you would show up and hang out with us this evening. That was
Oh,
so cool
totally.
of you. And I hope that you do come back one day. I hope that I am able to have you back and talk to you again, because this has been a lot of fun for me. So I really appreciate
Absolutely.
it.
I love talking about comics. If you
Me
had
too.
like a multi-panel on, I did the Gray Mulk and Lane podcast, which is about X-Men, and the
Oh,
host is
fun,
really cool. And John
fun.
Layman from creator of Chew was on there, and I'm a
Oh,
huge
cool,
fan of his.
cool.
So it was so cool to
Yeah.
get to interact with somebody as like a peer, and I was just like over the moon. So if you ever have like a format like that, you want to talk comics,
Yeah.
bring it. I will. I
Okay.
am happy to come back.
Man. Okay. That sounds like a plan then. Next time we do something like that, I'm going to invite you back.
Yeah, if you
But
ever want to talk about old comics that I
I
have in
love
my
it.
wheelhouse, like it, like old school, like bronze, like copper, bronze, modern Marvel, Silver Age Marvel.
Dude, that's my
I most
deal.
of my DC
Yeah.
stuff is yeah, like we're about the same age, so yeah, yeah, sure,
And so you're a little more Marvel heavy, like your knowledge is a little more Marvel.
yeah, yeah,
Same,
yeah,
same, same.
yeah.
Um,
DC was the
I
girl I saw on the side in the early aughts. Like I started really getting into like Green Arrow and Aquaman back around the turn of the like 2000.
nice. Yeah, that's exactly how I am. I feel the same way. I pick up a little DC. I just don't have a whole lot of knowledge when it comes to. I love going out and hunting for comics and trying to find keys in dollar bins and stuff, but my
Yep.
knowledge for DC is just not there like it is with Marvel.
Yeah.
So
Same.
gotta learn.
I
Gotta
love
learn.
Batman. I love the Batman family stuff. I would happily
Yeah.
write a Damian Wayne comic book where he like conquers the world as the grandson of Ra's al Ghul.
Oh, that'd be
Like
cool. Like a DC
and I
Black
want to.
Label.
I there are so many cool characters in the DC universe that just don't get enough attention because of what's popular.
Yep.
You know.
And you
Same with
could do that.
Marvel.
Oh yeah, for sure. Definitely.
I
Definitely.
dream of writing a Machine Man comic,
I love
like
Machine Man.
or
I
like
love
Son of
Machine
Machine
Man.
Man is like my concept. Like I want to do like if he had like a 2.0 or like a 3.0 or something, and he's
I have
rebooted as like a teenager.
I have most of Machine Man's. I have both of his issue ones. I got a lot of Machine Man comics. He's a cool underutilized character that people kind of rag on. But I like him. I think he's cool.
When they brought him into Next Wave, when Warren Ellis did the Next Wave book, that
Yeah,
was so cool. Like I want there to be more Next Wave
he was
stuff,
cool
like
in Marvel
odd beat,
Zombies.
off beat stuff. Yeah, yeah,
He actually had his time to shine in Marvel Zombies a little bit.
yeah. That
Well,
stuff was fun.
it was fun. But dude, I guess it's been like an hour and 15 minutes. I'm just blabbing away, keeping you hostage here.
Oh, you're
But
fine.
I've just been having so much fun talking to you about comic books. And Las Cruces says he loved the Machine Man limited series by Barry Windsor
That's what
Smith.
I was about to say.
That
Is
was
those Barry
awesome.
Windsor Smith covers
That
are
was the
so
4 issue.
gorgeous.
Yeah, they were
Yeah,
each one showed him a little more put together, I think. Yeah,
yep,
that was a great series.
yep.
Man, it's been so much fun. Hope to get you back here again. You got a couple of books coming up that we were talking about. Is there anything else you want to talk about before we end it? We cover everything.
No, I'll like I'm kind of down to clown, so I'm looking for new stuff to work on. I've kind of got my fingers in a couple pies that I can't really talk about yet, and I'm
Okay.
just kind of waiting to see what firms up. And it's, like I'm working on this indie book on my own, and like I said, I've been in contact with some other publishers, and nothing's really happened yet, but we'll see what happens. And you'll see me soon, and I'm always constantly promoting something. If it's
Yeah.
not me, I'll promote one of my friends' books. So I'll definitely put you in touch with other creators too.
Man, that would be great. Yeah, that would be great because I love talking about comic books. and love talking to all different types of people about comic books. So definitely
Right
would
on,
be
man.
cool.
That's awesome.
What so people can keep up with you through Instagram right now. So guys, be
Yeah,
sure
Instagram, Facebook, steveekstrom.rocks in about a week.
about a week. So up until then, if you're not already following him on Instagram, guys, go over to Instagram and follow Steve Ekstrom. Awesome guy. I've had such a good time. I've kept him way longer than I told him I would. So I
Oh, you're
apologize
fine.
about that, but I just been having a good time. Hope that you guys come back next week. We'll be back next Monday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time with the normal show, and it's gonna be a lot of fun. But until then, I really appreciate you guys coming out tonight because it's not the normal night. I just had this special opportunity. So I wanted to take advantage of it. So thanks for coming out, guys. Anybody catching the replay, I truly appreciate it. Helps me with my watch time. And till Monday, we'll leave out like we always do with a little Biggie Shack. Later, guys.
I'd say that one is a banger, man. It's a real certified banger, dude.